Outside the U.S. or Mexico cares about Mexican food. LMAO. First off, French. First off, just right off the bat, French. Know your place in the conversation on the world stage. Jesus Christ. Having a banh mi on hand actually kind of goes with this. So I recently came across this tweet. Everybody's talking about these series of tweets. They're fucking absolutely patently absurd. From the late, great Chud King himself, Sargon of Akkad. If you don't know who Sargon of Akkad is, you're lucky. He was basically one of the main pioneers behind the SJW Freakout, SJW Cringe Collection videos from like the 2015, 2016 era. He used to be much more entertaining. In a general sense, he had like a modicum of like a sense of fucking being kind of funny sometimes, like a sense of humor. That's what I'm trying to say. But that like really faded, and he started becoming like super duper political, and he really just didn't have the talent to back up his online presence. And so he just basically, like all of the people from the 2016s and stuff, transmitted his entire existence to nonstop Chud content. And now he's just basically like a 4chan poll board repost bot. It's pretty fucking wild. I don't think he's had a fucking original idea or take on anything, which, I mean, he's a conservative, so that makes fucking sense. He tries to say that he's not, but he is. Mexican food and its consequences have been a disaster for the human race. Yeah, this is the last one, because this is fucking hilarious. Why is Mexico number one in obesity? It passed the United States as the most obese country in the world, blah, 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 blah. But that happened like 10 or 15 years ago. And this is going to blow people's minds, but Mexico's like fucking literally thousands of years old. A lot of the stuff they've been cooking in Mexico, they've been cooking before white motherfuckers ever got anywhere near these shores. So if you had to just think for a second, what's different about Mexico that now everybody's fat? And not everybody, just a bunch of people. Oh, it's fucking fast food. I think it literally corresponds to the 1980s. Let's see. Obesity is a relatively recent phenomenon, having been widespread since the 1980s with the introduction of processed food into much of the Mexican food market. Prior to that, dietary issues were limited to under and malnutrition, which is still a problem in various parts of the country. Yeah. Old Carl Boy's contentions today are that Mexican food is not good, which is fucking wild. Obviously, Carl Benjamin's a racist. It goes without saying. He just kind of always has been, I think. It just kind of like fell below the radar back in the day. This is one of the wildest takes ever right here at the beginning. Mexican food is absolutely atrocious. The chilies are there to hide the taste of poor quality ingredients, not enhance the flavor. The one thing that can unite America in this age of hyperpartisanship is dunking on Peg's food takes. Pascal Emmanuel Gaubrion, who's a surprising amount of food, we'll probably talk about Mexican food, which is hilarious. We were so good at putting slop on a tortilla. What do you say about that, Frenchie? It's posting an L. Nobody outside the U.S. or Mexico cares about Mexican food. LMAO. First off, French. First off, just right off the bat, French. Know your place in the conversation on the world stage. Jesus fucking Christ. Mexican food slaps, and this is usually an idea that's carried by people who have only ever had Taco Bell. Mexican food is not Taco Bell. Taco Bell is not Mexican food. It's just Mexican themed food. It's sort of there. No one in America is like, I'm gonna get some Mexican food, and then they go to Taco Bell. But I feel like that's what translates into here. Also, I don't even know what do you mean by slop on a tortilla? Like, what is the fucking which slop? There's sauces. Are you talking about refried beans? It's not even that sloppy. Are we talking about the actual meat and stuff? Carnitas? Barbacoa, fucking the good shit, man. Tacos al pastor. Like, I don't think they even have heard these things in their lives, which is fucking wild. But that's like street food, first and foremost. Like, in the first place, those are all like street food options. So, unironically, if you really read deep into this conversation, the entirety of French cuisine like literally aimed at just Mexican street food is like at par or not as good. And that's just the case. With all due respect, which is not a lot to French cooking, it's basically roux and butter, right? Searing things, and then a lot of plating. The French invented plating, and by the French, I mean literally just fucking Escoffier. He is the only reason the French can even talk about how good their food is. Before that, they were literally eating boiled snails out of swamps. The only reason you know about escargot is because of like this one fucking absolute sociopath who started arranging pheasants in his fucking shop window, and then everyone's like, actually, this kind of goes fucking hard. Before that, it was just bread. Bread was so much fucking stone in it, it would like rot your teeth. You know, you would literally like chew yourself to nothingness. It's non-existent. I love a good croissant. Yet again, just butter bread. It's butter bread in layers. I mean, just know where you're fucking fighting from, okay? Everything else is roasted meat. Anyone can roast meat. Every culture on earth roasts fucking meat. It's super fucking easy. You find meat, you put it either in a pan or on a stick, and then you put it over fire. You're done. You're done. And usually that's about as far as a lot of places go. Mexican food, and like the weird thing is the chilies are there to hide the taste of poor quality ingredients, not enhance the flavor. Chilies do enhance flavor. They're just like, they're a pepper. If you've ever heard of like I mean, it's a fucking British person, so maybe not. Chilies are chili peppers. That's the end of it. It's a fruit, so it's gonna taste like a fruit tastes, either dried or undried, depending on the varietal and what it's made out of. Or the varietal, and you know what kind of chili it is, you know, if you or pepper it is, it's going to be different. The chilies, I mean, if you're talking about like chiles de árbol, you know, fucking tree peppers is pretty common ones, like the red ones. They have a taste. If you cook them in the sauce, it will affect the taste of the sauce that you make them in. And the spice can be changed. But if you put spice on something that tastes bad, like hot spice, capsaicin spice on something that tastes bad, it's just going to taste like shit and then also be hot. This is like a stupid person's point to make. But this is actually a really common thing for Nazis on like pol board, because they just want to pretend like everybody eats rotten meat all the time, which would just kill you. Like if you just eat rotten meat, you just die. You can't put any spices on rotten meat that will make it not taste rotten. Trust me, I've been around it. I worked in kitchens and stuff before. Once something goes, it goes. There's no saving it. So it's just flat bigotry. I mean, of course, but also the fucking absolute, like, I can't tell if he's fucking with me or not. Oh, that's fucking great. Is that like a paella right there? Beautiful. This legitimately, yeah, his, like, we're just going to go through some of his takes because they're fucking absolutely mad. And I got to have something to put on the internet later. This legitimately looks unpleasant to me. Prawns, chilies, avocado, and lime. This isn't a meal. It's an assault on the senses. Sorry, I'm mad. I gave that statement way too much credit by reading it in a fucking American accent. This legitimately looks unpleasant to me. Prawns, chilies, avocado, and lime. This isn't a meal. It's an assault on the senses. Bro, it's fucking gumbo, man. Paella. This, I don't know what this specifically is called in Mexico, but this is fucking French cooking too, by the way. French make this exact same goddamn dish. Slightly different. And that cuisine is very popular down in Louisiana. Like, we start talking about American food, literally no fucking program is long enough to take in the entirety of American food. It would be an hour for me trying to find like a concisive definition for what does and doesn't constitute American food, other than the presence of like the word American behind it. And people start talking about American cheese. Oh, you American cheese, it melts. I only eat hard cheddar from Chestershire. Fucking chill out, bro. Slopgate, the greatest Twitter controversy. It's not even really a Twitter controversy. Let's see, like UK food is some sort of world-renowned delicacy. Glasshouse's friend. And he says this, I feel this picture reinforces rather than refutes my point. I mean, it's not a delicacy. This looks like anything. This looks like fucking Bob Evans. I don't know if British people, if you're stopping through ever, this looks like Bob Evans. This isn't a whole full on insult, but it's significantly, it is an insult. This is just Bob Evans food. You can go get this. You can get this same meal at you can get this at Denny's. This is Denny's food. This is a Denny's, not a Grand Slam. This is a fucking Denny's RBI. This is a Denny's top of the third RBI meal. I mean, it's just sausages, gravy, mashed potato, and peas. This is like basic ass. It's as basic as food gets. And I feel like every time I see British mashed potatoes, they look like they're instant mashed potatoes out of a bag. I will never understand the beans on toast. Like, I get it. If it tastes good, that's fine. But that just seems so fucking sloppy to eat. Like, you can't complain about the tortilla folds around stuff so you can, like, put it in your face. And also, none of it is anywhere near. There's literally basically no version of real Mexican food I know of that's served in a tortilla that's anywhere near as sloppy as this if it's made right. Like, this shit is literally, like, yeah, it looks like two sausages touching up here. That also, this meal, the gay coded meal is the one that Carl's really about. It's the one that's fucking, we got some frottage going on here. That's why it's very French. My brother in Christ, this is literally called American cheese. Yeah, it's American style cheese. It's processed, hyper processed, melty cheese in a pre-sale. The reason that these are in like this horrible craft singles, this is a craft single. The reason that they're in this is because people just don't know how to literally cut the cheese. Fart jokes aside, cutting slices, perfect slices of cheese for the way that we tend to use them in our cooking is difficult. You don't actually see these for sale as much as you used to anymore. When I was a kid, you would see the big packs of craft singles. Nobody likes these plastic things. But because the cheese has such a low melting point that if you get it hot at all of it will just stick together. You want real American cheese, bust out the fucking Velveeta. If you've never had Velveeta in shells, you haven't lived. It's a decadence that would literally make you just want to go conquer another country and steal all of its oil. Like, immediately. You taste Velveeta and cheese, a little fucking cracked black pepper on top of that bitch. You start sweating. You start thinking about conquest. Fucking Fortunate Son starts playing. Your hair gets shorter. And then you're just like, yeah, I'll tell you what, I'm getting in that goddamn plane and I'm bringing freedom to them. I don't care where they are, brother. It's happening. But yeah. This is like American cheese, American style. Like, I guess it was just made here. I don't even know the fucking real history of it, but real American cheese is Wisconsin cheddar. Wisconsin cheddar fucking, it floats everybody. You're done. Don't fuck with the Wisconsinites. They figured out cows, they figured out milk, and they figured out cheese. Tillamook will fucking wreck your shit. I don't even think any of these guys know this many fucking names. These are absurd. This is true. We haven't even begun to discuss what's happened to American food before it hits their stove. Spices are probably the culinary equivalent to painkillers in America. I mean, maybe he's possibly like trolling, but the man's so fucking stupid. Like, literally, I can't give him credit for it. This is his meal. This is just a Thanksgiving dinner, but like every day, just dry meat, gravy, mashed potatoes, green beans, and peas. And I think this is a Yorkshire pudding, which is unironically like, that's what this is. These are like one of the fattest things that you can eat. Like, a Yorkshire pudding will kill you. The level of cholesterol. They're made by pouring like batter into like a cupcake tin, and you pour it into not even lard. It's drippings. You gotta get a can of drippings. Fucking wild. If you make that at a restaurant, I guarantee you that shit goes unfathomably hard. I bet it tastes pretty good. Maybe I should fucking stop talking as much shit and bring up some of mine. I cook. I actually come from a background of being in kitchens. My dad was a chef and a cook and worked in kitchens from the time he was 14. One of my earliest memories are of being at my dad's catering business that didn't last particularly long, but was still pretty fucking wild. This is just the best. So I very frequently make fresh bread. It's like one of my things. It's like basically when I was a kid, I watched this movie called Demolition Man that's a billion years old, and it was starring Sylvester Stallone. And in it, he gets like unthawed. He was like a super criminal, and he starts like knitting, right? And he's like, yeah, so this is how I kind of put my brain back together. I started knitting. And for some reason, even young me was like, I should learn skills constantly in life because then I can be cool like Sylvester Stallone. And so like every 3 or 4 years, I hyperfixate and learn a skill, and this one's bread. So this is like a really, really, really super basic. I think this is one of my wheat breads. And I do that. This is, I don't know what kind of cheese this is that's on there, but that's a little rare. Oh, maybe I actually check. Anyway, poached eggs. Yeah, I don't know exactly. This is probably one of the cheddars that I get from our grocery store. We have really, really good cheese section at our Kroger's nowadays. We didn't used to have that when I was a kid, but I'm a real big fan of specifically like these Irish cheddar thing. It's called Murray's, right? I don't know if it's actually from Ireland, but it's called like Murray's Irish cheddar. This might actually be a chunk of that or something else. But these are poached eggs. A poached egg is basically you boil an egg. You soft, hard, medium, whatever, boil an egg, but without the shell on. It's functionally how a poached egg is. You put water, a little bit of vinegar, a little bit of salt, spin it around in the pan. Once it starts bubbling a little on the sides, crack it right over the surface, and float it as much together as you can. And it'll harden into one of these nice little pucks. And then from there, if you have a little bit of practice and you know exactly what you're doing, you know how much time it takes, you can get them to medium, over hard, over easy as eggs. And they're fucking great. And this is with hot sauce, a little bit of, I think that's parsley. And yeah, this is just one of my favorite things ever. By now, usually by the time I'm cooking this, these breads are a little bit on the stale side. And it actually just like, the stale bread goes so fucking good with a slightly runny poached egg. It's just amazing. This is a West Virginia food. You want a real American food. This is a West Virginia food called a pepperoni roll. It's like a typical comfort food that we make in West Virginia all the time. These all pop apart. They're rolls. And inside is just mozzarella cheese and pepperoni. I make mine by shredding the cheese and shredding the pepperoni. I get a big stick of pepperoni and basically just grind it down so that it's individual. And then you basically make it's like a meat and cheese roll, hand pie, whatever the hell. There's different variations of this kind of food throughout the world. This is my basic recipe. If anyone's interested and people ask, if I get some donations and subs, I don't know what the fuck I'm supposed to ask for as a live streamer. I'll put the recipe for that online. I've actually pretty rarely, there's only like 1 or 2 recipes I do where I broil my asparagus. Generally, I just boil it. My wife prefers boiled asparagus, generally just because we can get a bunch of it. Like, this much asparagus at a restaurant is like $500 goddamn dollars. But when you make it at home, if you buy it at the grocery store, like, you can get enough for between 2, if you're us, or like 4 people for like $3. So it's pretty easy. And then once you're done, you crack off the bottoms, boil it for like whatever amount of time, usually until it's this nice, like, brilliant green. And then I just hit it with some salt and butter, and it's good. You can just toss like a little tiny bit butter in there, some salt, flip it around, and then it's ready to go. It tastes fucking awesome. And you can actually take that buttered one, and then you can take those and drop those in a super duper hot pan and like that and crisp them a bit if you want to too. But this is my fucking crowning glory. This is something I do not make very often. But this is blackened salmon. I have a special rub and stuff that I put on my salmon. It's mostly chili powder and some Lowry seasoned salt because I can't ever get onion powder to not clump up when I buy chunks of it. So I use Lowry seasoned salt, which is salt, garlic powder, onion powder, and then just a few other light things that don't really drastically affect the taste. And then chili powder from Kroger, which is like 4 chili, 5 chili powder. It's like, adobo and a few other different things. And they're money. But so this is blackened salmon on top of my 4-cheese bechamel mac and cheese. So underneath this is macaroni and cheese. I cook this independently and then this has got a little bit of cheese on top of it. And the inside is a bechamel sauce that I make out of flour, butter, cheese, and I think it's a little bit of milk. Yeah, flour, butter, milk, and cheese. That's how you make a fucking bechamel. So I make that bechamel, whip it up, turn all the noodles in it after the noodles are cooked, put it in there, put some cheese on top, and then I set that on top of the cheese, and I broil that fucker until it's black on top like this. Like, it's got these little black spots, and that is fucking money. It's possibly one of the best things I've ever eaten, but it takes fucking forever to cook. Say, speaking of Indian, I had gulab jamun for the first time about a year ago, and I haven't stopped thinking about it. It's so good when it's done right. You can get fucking gulab jamun pre-made if you find an Indian store near you. We have like 2 near our house that I get a lot of my stuff from. If you can find an Indian store in your neighborhood, unironically, 10 times out of 10, the fucking best prices on rice, clarified butter, almost every spice you can fucking think of, and a lot of vegetables. You won't be able to get a lot of American things. Their dairy section will usually be a little light unless you're specifically looking for Indian yogurt and like paneer. But they'll have a great freezer section, and they usually sell fresh gulab jamun in little pop-open tubs. And you like fucking $6 will get you like a big thing of 12 of them, and they're in the rose syrup and everything. It's monstrous. You can make that syrup at home too if you ever want to try it. You usually can get the flavoring for it. I think it's rose water, and you just put rose water, water, and sugar all together, and you make a simple syrup with that, and it'll taste and smell exactly the same. And you just boil it down to its nice consistency, put it in the thing, and put your gulabs in there, or anything. I've made that syrup and used it for pancakes because I ran out of maple syrup, which is vastly superior and less sugary in my opinion, and I just whipped up simple syrup and
subscribe.